when we breathe properly, we actually pull a lever in our autonomic nervous system that brings us over to the parasympathetic. So we are literally and figuratively pulling ourselves into relaxation through conscious respiration, right? But it has to be done with the right posture. It has to be done with the right physicality. Otherwise, we're just like breathing in our upper chest.
I want to ask you a question right off the bat, super important. Can proper breathing reduce your anxiety?
100%. Most of us don't breathe properly as it is. Most of us are upper chest breathers. We kind of cut off our diaphragm and all the nerve endings that go to the vagus nerve that ties to the amygdala, which is the fear center of our brain. So if we start breathing properly, which I know we're going to get into, when we breathe properly, we actually pull a lever in our autonomic nervous system that brings us over to the parasympathetic. So we are literally and figuratively pulling ourselves into relaxation through conscious respiration, right? But it has to be done with the right posture. It has to be done with the right physicality. Otherwise, we're just like breathing in our upper chest. So the answer is hell yes. And that's what led me to breath in the first place.
Amazing. So were you anxious before doing it? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Anxiety and depression a lot in my life. My mom was manic bipolar, so my dad left home when I was real young, and I never really had that home base feeling. And so flash forward, man, I'm like 21 years old, 280 pounds, found a drug called food. A lot of people find that drug. And I really abused it. And I didn't know anything about physiology or my breath. And I went to Hawaii. I sold everything I owned. And when I was out in Hawaii, I started to, really I didn't know it at the time, but I started to breathe. I started to be in nature and connect with nature herself. And the power of that breath just started to come through when I would be like surfing or hiking, and it was just the best feeling ever. But I really the breath didn't find me until 2016. Because in 2016, I had been through a pretty severe life challenge. I put my mom in a mental home at that time, and I started, at the time, it was the Wellness Force podcast. We went through a death and rebirth process there. But at that time, I was just really in a bad space. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing with my life. That was 7 years ago. And so I was having panic attacks. I was going through a lot of stress emotionally. So the breath found me.
The breath found you. It's funny because we breathe every day, but the breath really found you.
Yes.
So you mentioned that a lot of us are upper chest breathers. And I brought awareness to myself in that conversation, or like during our conversation, I go, wait a minute, where am I breathing from? So it's a little bit upper chest, some stomach, but there's a lot of resistance around my stomach.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to properly be breathing?
Most people, especially have you ever been bigger than you are? Have you ever had extra weight in your body?
When I used to work out a lot and eat a lot.
Okay, so most of us in America, and especially in photos for Instagram, everybody goes like this. Huh?
Yeah.
They pull in their stomachs, they tighten their stomachs. So I was definitely like that as a kid, being an overweight kid. And so we all have a really tight front panel. The abdominals and everything going on with really our inhibition for our diaphragm. So the diaphragm is this dome-shaped muscle that sits right here at the xiphoid, and it goes 360 degrees around our whole body. But if the internal organs, and if I'm tensioning my abdominals, the diaphragm can't travel. So I always tell people like, yeah, it's important to breathe through your stomach and breathe through your belly, but your diaphragm's not there. Like we actually have to move the organs and move the stomach in and out so that the diaphragm can travel up and down to contract and expand. So it's really important that we start at that place. We have to like be in the body and breathe from the body. And then from there, we can do anything we want as far as stress modulation. And really the answer to your question is like, we have to start with where we are, because most of us are tensioning too much.
Yeah.
And so when we're tensioning too much, we might not even know that we don't know that we're not breathing correctly, because we're so used to the baseline of really probably 70, 80% oxygen compared to what we really need.
So what happens then if we're tight on our front panel and we're breathing from our chest? What happens to us in our body?
We start to get, essentially what you have is kyphotic posture. You start tensioning your pecs, your scalenes, and really what happens is over time you get less oxygen to your blood. And then you get a little bit of increase in carbon dioxide, and you start to have all these symptoms of disease and of sometimes emotional malaise. It can manifest emotionally as well, but it's really about opening up your posture so that your diaphragm can travel and you can actually start breathing through your belly. because most of us breathe through our neck, through our scalenes, through our sternocleidomastoid, and we start rounding. We get that hump on our back. You've all seen like the older people where they have that hump on their back. They're all upper cross syndrome. They're all upper chest breathers. And it's funny, you know, when I have clients come to the house, in the studio, or even in the Breathe program, most people have a reverse breathing pattern. So like right now, if you and I just take a big nasal breath, our bellies should go out. And then we exhale, our bellies should go in.
Yeah.
But how many people watching right now or listening, they didn't feel that. They took a breath in, but their belly went in. Right?
Wow,
so
right
that's,
to their chest.
That's what you were talking about with like, well, what happens when we actually hold tension in our stomach? Well, we start to train our bodies to have a reverse breathing pattern. And I'm not going to name names. It's people that go to PaleoFX. It's people in our world, and they just simply don't know. It's not about shaming them, because in 2016, when I found the breath, I didn't really know either.
Right.
And I myself had a reverse breathing pattern.
Right. So reverse breathing pattern, again, to reiterate, is when you breathe in, your stomach sucks in?
Exactly.
Okay, which a lot of us do.
We're built as an animal. We're half beast, half spirit. So look at a zebra, look at any animal in nature. When they breathe like a bellow.
Oh, yeah.
Watch a lion breathe or like a zebra breathe. They breathe horizontally. But sometimes in life, because we're so stressed out, I don't know, can I cuss on the podcast?
Sure.
Okay. We're so fucking overwhelmed with our intellectual mind that we become victims of our intellectual mind. And our intellectual mind starts to drive our physiology to protect itself from the barking authoritator in our brain. And so animals, when they are in nature and they get chased or they almost die, they shake it off. They literally somatically shake off the stress. We're not trained to do that as human beings.
No.
We go through so much trauma in life and so much really scarcity thinking, scarcity interactions with people are withholding love. We have trauma that we haven't processed. All this stuff manifests into us breathing up and down instead of in and out. But we're built just like these animals in nature. So we have to realign ourselves with that. And I think the breath is a good tool to get us there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it is the most inherent tool. It is the thing we cannot survive. I mean, like, we can live without food for, what, a week? Water, 3 days maybe? Breath, well, average person, 3 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes, and that's all.
Unless you're one of those deep sea divers.
I was just thinking about that.
Yes.
On a side note, I just saw this deep sea diver like dive so deep, like a full skyscraper down, and I was like, this guy's lungs and the way he's traveled, trained his lungs and capacity is crazy. But to think about, like, we're capable of expanding our breath and being more athletic in our breathing in many ways. But I love that you brought up animals, because I was just thinking when you were talking about lions, like I saw a video of a lion laying down and just like, he was like an accordion, like just expanding, open and close, open and close. How many animals out there are chest breathing because they're thinking about not hitting a deadline?
I would say zero.
Right?
But like, you know, because we're half beast and half spirit, like your soul incarnated in your body. So you're a soul having a physical experience in your meat suit. But we forget about that because so much of our world is like emails, zeros and ones, linear stuff, logical stuff. So we get pulled out of our body. Literally, we get pulled out of our body, our consciousness, our awareness. So that's really like the big piece I want to say is, if you're the kind of person who finds yourself needing like sleeping pills and needing lots of supplements and biohacks to sleep, I would say save yourself some money and save yourself some time and just start doing breath work before you go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
The 4-7-8 pattern is the most potent one for sleep. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 7 with pressurized belly, exhale slowly audible sound for 8. Do that breathing pattern 6 to 8 times, you probably will actually just put yourself to sleep.
Wow.
Even if you had caffeine past noon, right? Which is another reason why people don't sleep very well.
2 minutes it takes. Caffeine. Yeah, like it sounds like a minute and a half.
Yes. But here's the thing, we don't think about it because we haven't practiced it. And we've become disconnected from innately what Mother Nature put in our bodies so that our bodies can calm themselves down. Yeah. And so we've just forgotten this art, man.
And it is an art.
It's an art.
The art to breathing. And we forgot. So the next partner has a product that I use every single day. And I started using Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy. And now it's been about 4 to 5 months I've been using it, and I truly do love it. And here's why. It's super healthy, but I'm all about a nice tasting green drink. And most green drinks out there, they taste like dirt. I'm gonna be serious. They're earthy, they're grainy. This one has a really nice tropical taste, and that's because of the vanilla and the pineapple. So what's it made out of? With 1 scoop of Athletic Greens, you're gonna get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The beautiful thing is, it's got 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, while it tastes good. And it helps support better sleep quality and recovery, especially when you're super active like me. And also, helping you support mental clarity and alertness, which is why I take it in the beginning of my day. AG1 by Athletic Greens is a small micro habit with a big benefit. The more you do it, the more it compounds, the more you feel it. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Now, you not only partner with brands that I truly believe in, and Athletic Greens is one of them. They're a great company, and they're focused on sustainability, which is so powerful and important, especially for this year onward. So for one, they're a climate neutral certified company. In 2020, they purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests. Additionally, for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping to get nutritious foods to children, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States. And in 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to kids. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you gotta do is visit athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So for me, magnesium is a very important part of my daily supplement regimen. A lot of us, most of us, are depleted or deficient in magnesium. So the role that magnesium plays for me, yeah, it helps my bowel movements, but it makes me feel better in my body. It helps my nervous system and my muscles relax. So when it comes to NEDs, mellow magnesium is one of my favorite across the board. Because magnesium helps calm down the nervous system, it's really important, especially when you have a mindfulness practice, to combine it with magnesium, right? It stands to believe as magnesium works in the body and the muscles and the nervous system, it helps relax your body, which opens the space for a relaxed mind. Mellow Magnesium is a powerful daily magnesium supplement with amino acids, trace minerals that help propel your memory, your mood, your brain function, stress, nerve, and muscle health, and ultimately sleep. With NED's Mellow Magnesium, I'm experiencing better sleep, less stress, less inflammation, and less pain. And you know that NED has been one of our partners from the beginning, and it's because they're science-backed and make sure that they have the highest quality supplements out there. When it comes to NED's products, they're full of premium CBD and have full spectrums of active cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, and trichomes. NED's full spectrum hemp oil nourishes the body's endocannabinoid system to offer functional support for stress, sleep, inflammation, and just overall balance. NED CBD is cold extracted from the world's purest USDA-certified organic hemp foothills in the Rocky Mountains. And they're fully transparent. You go to their website, they share all of their third-party lab reports for every single ingredient on every single one of their products. And they actually show who farms their products and the extraction process right on their website. So to get your hands on some of the best products out there and get 15% off of NED's products, use the code DRG. Go to helloned.com/DRG, enter the code DRG at checkout. That's HELLONED.com/DRG. You're gonna get 15% off. Thank you as always, NED, for sponsoring the show and offering our listeners a natural remedy for some of life's most common health issues. So you mentioned that our front line is usually so tense, right? Our whole front line. How do we overcome that? Does it have to, if we belly breathe, there's going to be some pressure for a lot of us who've chest breathed for so many years.
Yeah.
Once we go, okay, let me bring awareness, and you breathe in and your belly goes out, you're going to hit pressure. How do we start overcoming that pressure? Does that ever go away?
It does, yeah, it does. So in the Breathe program, there's a whole section on this where we're opening up the front panel. It starts with the pectoralis major and minor. Then we roll out all the way to the sternum. We're actually on a foam roller to do this.
Oh, okay. So physical medicine on
Absolutely.
foam rolling.
My background is I was a trainer for 10 years. So I worked at 24 Hour Fitness, and then I worked in a studio for 5 years and like 10,000 hours of clients. And I always wondered, like, they leave feeling good, but when they came back, the greatest trouble that they always had was just being present and just actually doing the movements and breathing properly. But it's because I wasn't trained. I didn't know anything about breath at the time. And I wonder if I could go back and if I could just show them how to properly belly breathe and how to open up their front panel so that they were breathing, it could be life-changing for people.
Yeah.
Life-changing, because then throughout the entire day when they're gone from, like, you know, if somebody works out for 30 minutes or an hour or something, they're breathing properly all day long. That's going to lower their allostatic load. That's going to make them more in parasympathetic all day long. But it has to be this conscious thought practice. So I start with the pecs, then we go to the sternum, and then actually we do an organ massage. So I have a ball, and I put people on the floor prone, and I have them do the same pattern for elimination. So you start on the right side, and you go down to the descending colon, and you actually do an organ massage. That helps. That's beautiful. And then also just rolling out the TFL and rolling out the hip flexors, like starting there, then sitting up in an upright position. So if you and I were doing breathing, I would actually put a pillow underneath my butt because I want the top of my kneecap to be below my hip line. You don't want to actually do breath work like this because you can see when you lift your leg that your stomach doesn't have as much room to travel.
Right.
So you want to have your hips a little bit higher than your knees when you breathe, or you can do it laying on the ground or standing. So there's a lot of posture, a lot of anatomy that goes into proper breath work. I learned a lot of that from Dr. Belisa Vranich. She wrote a book called Breathing for Warriors. So she was a mentor of mine. I took her certification, and I've taken a lot of different programs. I was in Hawaii for not Hawaii. I was in Hawaii earlier in life, but I was in Koh Phangan, Thailand. Have you ever been to Thailand?
No.
Really beautiful island off the coast of Thailand. But for 30 days, I just did breath work, and I did a deep training out there with a guy called Niraj. He has a thing called Soma breath. And the number one thing that I felt for myself out there was anytime I can do breath for more than 21 days or 30 days, it just sticks with me. There's really like this reformation of my habits, my brain, how I relate to my body. Anytime I can do breath for a succession of 3 weeks or 4 weeks or more, it sticks.
Wow.
And that includes doing the foam rolling like we were talking about and opening up the front panel. But it really doesn't have to be complicated. You know, we only do 3 things. We inhale, we exhale, we hold.
Yeah.
It ain't that complicated. It's just there's a certain sequence to get you physiologically and emotionally prepared, you know, and then also what comes after you do the breathing. That's a whole nother conversation. You know?
I love that you prepare the body for breathing.
Yeah.
Because I found, like, let's say I get a stressful day and I'm not even paying attention to my breath and I'm chest breathing the whole day because I'm like running around.
Yes.
Literally, like you said, consciousness is just leaving the body and then just like coming back. I'll go to a breathwork class, I'll sit down and I'll just be so uncomfortable because my whole front panel is like, it feels like 10 out of 10 tension, where I feel like I'm working against rubber bands just to breathe into my belly because the whole day I'm in that mode. So I think it's brilliant that you push or you have people do this. And I know the value of foam rolling or using myofascial release balls.
Yeah.
They hurt. They can hurt sometimes, especially when I hit my TFL. But
Yes.
But man, if I just give me 10 minutes to do that, then breathe, whew, like I'll feel so much. And the thing about when you release those parts of your muscles that are really tight, you already feel euphoric.
Totally.
So then you're sitting down and doing the breathing and you're like, oh my God, there it is. Like I feel so much better.
Yeah, there's a good point you made. Also, it's like with our organs, most of us have inflammation on our organs. And I know on the show you go deep into inflammation. So think about if something's inflamed, it's taking up more space than it was naturally designed to do because of water retention, because of inflammation. So when we do the foam rolling, and even when we do like the manual, you know, the transverse colon going down to the descending colon, the way your poop flows, you want to release your front panel the way your poop flows. But here's the key, like, don't go hard because you could actually hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You could actually like bruise an organ if you do it too hard. So like, take it easy. The whole point of this is to relax.
Yeah.
You know, the whole point is to like, let go of some of the stuff that's holding you tightly.
So you mentioned one breathing, it was 4-7-8 breathing?
Yeah, that's for the sleep.
For the
That's
sleep.
a really good one, yeah.
Now, there's different types of breathing. do you follow, a handful always, or does it vary day to day? And what are some breathing techniques that we can do as far as cadence and how we do it that you found be really beneficial for us?
The best breath I've found is conscious connected breathing. This is where there's really only two styles of breath work out there. You're either breathing like a circle or you're breathing like a box. So box breath is inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. And you just repeat that box. You're drawing a box. A circle is, I think, probably one of the easiest and also the most cathartic things that people can do. Everybody knows about Wim Hof, where, we're laying on the ground with blankets and eye mask and we're like, which is great. I think there's a time and a place for that. But I really think that conscious connected breathing with a 2-second inhale and a 4-second exhale in rounds of 3 to 6 minutes with whatever natural pause you need is the most easy to do and most potent thing anybody could do. So essentially, if you and I were laying down and we had like 7 minutes, I would lay on the ground, I would get myself comfortable, get myself prepared physiologically, and then I would inhale for 2, exhale for 4 with no pause. And just continue to do that, conscious connected breath.
Wow.
Because that's going to give us the most toning for our vagus nerve possible. We've all heard, and I'm sure you've talked about this on the show, like vagal toning.
Yeah.
We want to have vagal toning.
Yeah.
So just like any other organ or any other system on the body, like the more we wire it, the more we use it, then the more naturally it's going to be used without us having to do anything. Mm-hmm. So with the vagus nerve, it's really great, but a lot of people go into breath work and they go right to the catharsis breathing. And I would actually I would offer a different opinion about that. I would say that when people do anything, to start with the basics. There's acute style breathing where it's like, we're going on a stage, we might be nervous. How do we pull ourselves out of stress? There's one modality for that. And then there's meditative breathing where every single day I'm doing it because it's my hygiene for my emotions. I'm actually using the breath because I want to clean myself out to come into the day more spacious. Mm-hmm. And then there's cathartic breathing. So each one of those has different hold times, different breath hold retention times, different inhale and exhale times, and which is a beautiful way to explore the breath. But unfortunately, man, most people just go right to the catharsis. Right. Where they're like, I want to get the best I can. And it's like, you would never send an astronaut into outer space with zero training. Yeah. Why are we putting people right to catharsis breathing when they've never done any acute style breathing, they've never done any meditative breathing? Mm-hmm. It's like putting somebody in an ayahuasca ceremony when they've never done any psychedelics at all. Like, look the fuck out.
Right, right.
So breath is the same way.
I see. Yeah. And it's very valuable to know because breath work has in many ways boomed into the health field, which I'm great. Now we're learning how to breathe, or we're learning that we're not breathing incorrectly, even more importantly, correctly. But a lot of us do jump into, let's get into that deep breath work. And then, I'm having this experience. But really what you're doing is the subtleties so we can breathe every single day and feel better in our bodies. Like, I never heard of the conscious breath, but I want to do it now, It seems so easy. And I could do it for 10 minutes in the morning and just get my day started. There's
a really cool, maybe we can link this in the show notes. Like I talked to a lot of people at Heart Math when I was building the Breathe program because they have what's called coherence breathing. Yeah. Heart coherence breathing. And there's this really cool device. You stick it on your ear, and there's an app on the phone. And I'm not like affiliated with Heart Math. I'm just mentioning this. And I started to see that what they're doing and what all breath programs are doing is they're just trying to take your conscious awareness, put it on your breath, and have something where there's a feedback system, where it's like you actually know you're getting better because you either see something or you feel something different. And I think that's great. But what also I think was really important is having just a space in your house. Like if you just want to start breathing, you don't need the app, you don't need the thing. These are all great things. But just pick a space in your home, like in the corner. Maybe it's your altar, maybe it's where you meditate. And just start there. Set it up with a cushion so your knees are below your hips. And just be in a space where that's your breathing space for the next 3 weeks. And just go into that. And, check out the videos in the Breathe program because there's so many ways that people do that reverse breathing pattern. And a lot of us, we try to breathe like this. Yeah. We're leaning forward. So we really have to have a neutral spine when we're breathing. But I think it's it's really about just making this a dedicated practice. Anything that we do, whether it's like nutrition or healing ourselves, it has to be just this heartfelt dedication. And for me, it was like when I was having panic attacks and when I was going through massive amounts of anxiety, I didn't feel compelled to go to another psychedelic ceremony. I didn't feel compelled to drink more coffee. I didn't feel compelled to do all these things. I actually just needed to calm down. And I was searching and I was searching. And when I found breath, I actually was laying on the ground and I started crying. I was at this event with Mark Divine in 2016. And I didn't know at the time, but that was really what my body needed. And so I took a good 30 days and I did it every single day. And that's where I started to feel the benefits, was by having a dedicated space in my house where I was doing it and I was making sure that I was doing it properly. And of course, my education has grown since then.
Yeah.
And there's thousands of students across the world that have taken the Breathe program. So it's a labor of love, but it's really just something that I know worked for me.
Transformation.
I'm just sharing what worked for me.
Yeah. But it's powerful because what you're sharing is everything that we have access to, right? That is free for the most part.
Yeah.
We can do those things for ourselves, or at least learn. And it's essential for life, breathing. So you mentioned about post-breathing, right? Like, what did you mean? Like, what happens after we breathe when we have like these experiences? Were you referring to the ones where we really go deep into it and then like integrate that?
Yes.
Because a lot of people who've done the like on my lives will do breathing and they're like, holy shit, I was crying nonstop. I can't believe this.
Amazing.
And I was like, wow, right? Like this is, and it happened to me too. It's like all these emotion comes up. Why does that happen?
It happens because whether you're spiritual or scientific, and whether you've read Bessel van der Kolk's work, The Body Keeps the Score, your body and my body is a living library. It's got everything we've ever been through. Anytime somebody's yelled at us, anytime that we felt hurt, anytime that we felt rejected, anytime that we've been through massive stress, it gets stored somewhere. And if we're not like that animal in nature that shakes it off, then we're just going to keep stacking books on the shelf, and eventually the shelf's going to fall over. So in our library, we have to take stock, or what I call emotional inventory, of what's happening for us, because I don't think anything in the universe is a mistake. You know, everything that occurs for you to get you to where you are in your life has occurred, even though it was fucking hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And me too. So I think like with this living library, for me in 2016, for you on the lives, for the people that did breathwork with you, it's because we're just simply not aware of it. Whether you're a Dispenza follower or whether you're like Marcus Aurelius follower, contemporary, ancient, everybody's saying the same thing. Like, you have to take inventory of what's really true for you, including the dark bits, the ugly stuff, the traumas, the things like that. And so what happens on a somatic level is there's sense memory in our body. So we have these afferent and efferent nerves that go to all the receptors for us in touch and feed to our brain. So when I am emotionally charged about something, my body's tensing. When I'm sad about something, my body is grieving. Like in Chinese medicine, grief is in the lungs. So when I'm going through all these different things, if I don't have a way to properly process them, take inventory of them, the minute my body gets a chance to let go of something, it's going to let it go. And so breath accesses all this basically computer circuitry, which is why the human body is so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So the human body is the most beautiful thing. We just have to cherish it. And so what happens is that we start to have all these stored memories come up, because in our tissues, there are things stored in this living library. So we get to the point where we might do a 7-minute breath work or a 20-minute breath work, definitely these longer cathartic ones. But depending on the degree that you have trauma that hasn't been processed, or truth that you haven't had the courage yet to look at, I'm not shaming people, like we all go through this, it's gonna come up. And it's gonna come up because our emotions are physically stored in our tissues, right? Bruce Lipton made that famous. The issues are in the tissues. Yeah. So that's what's really going on. It's not always easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely worth it to feel your stuff, because it's in there anyways. We may as well feel it, right? And breath is an access point to that. I feel like breath really, it's this bridge between our tissues and our subconscious mind, which is what the body is. The body is the subconscious mind. Like anything that's going on with my body is because of whatever is in my subconscious mind. And breath is the access point. It's like this way that we can cross over into the deeper part of ourselves so that we then can live life more authentically, more real, without hiding anything, without withholding anything from ourselves or from other people.
Yeah, very well said, man. I've heard a lot of people talk about the body and it being a system of memory, but I love the way that you said it as far as a computerized library.
Yeah, we are.
And oftentimes I'm like, okay, well, breath moves that stored energy.
Yeah.
But I love the way you talked about it as being an access point. It is the access point. It makes it come alive.
Yes.
And truly, I love most of my work has been on bringing people to authenticity. But the barrier to entry is always feeling those things that you don't want to feel, looking at the parts of you that you don't want to look at.
Yeah.
And what a great tool that we can have at our access every day, access point, bridge, to get into that and go, okay, let's move those and feel that. Four Sigmatic helps people achieve elevated wellness with the world's most nutrient-dense ingredients. They have plant-based, organic, and clean formulas that help you promote physical, mental, emotional well-being overall and protect your body against stressors of modern life. So Four Sigmatic has been at it for 10 years. They've been pioneering the mushroom coffee market. Their product portfolio is diverse, but the vision has always remained the same. Four Sigmatic believes that the earth has provided us with the most nutrient-dense, powerful foods, and the goal is to make it easy and delicious to bring these wild foods in the most sustainable, clean, and authentic way to the Western world, where we arguably need it more than anyone. So Four Sigmatic's coffees are delicious and a magically easy way to elevate your overall wellness. They have paired premium coffee, which is 100% USDA organic, fair trade certified, third-party tested for mycotoxins, mold, heavy metals, pesticides, and more. And they have the world's most beneficial ingredients, some of my favorite mushrooms in there, like lion's mane. One of the best ones for your brain, cognition, short-term memory, long-term memory, and chaga, which is amazing antioxidant, good for overall health, good for inflammation. And it helps support a crash-free focus, helps your immunity, your gut health, stress response, and more with a perfectly roasted morning brew. Four Sigmatic also has a perfect plant protein. This is one of them that I use. It's on rotation for me all the time. You can elevate your day with a delicious blend of 5 plant-based proteins, 7 functional mushrooms and adaptogens. It's got 0 fillers, and it's crafted to taste amazing. So it has no stevia or any artificial flavors. They use whole food ingredients for taste, and you won't find a single grain or single gum that'll weigh you down or upset your stomach. And then you can put the smoothness back in your smoothies. Four Sigmatic has made it easy to support your immune system, balance stress, and improve your well-being with a day-changing plant-based protein. And it tastes delicious. To get your hands on it, I want you to use the code DRG for 20% off of all orders on foursigmatic.com. Again, that's DRG for 20% off of all orders on foursigmatic.com. Thank you, Four Sigmatic. Man, it was crazy. The first breathwork I ever. First of all, I was completely hesitant to do it. It was my friend Gwen, right? She came on the show, Gwen Dyer, and she was one of our first guests here.
Oh, cool.
And she's out here in Santa Monica, and she kept trying to get me to come, and she's like, I'll gift you a session. You do so many cool stuff for medicine, and you're helping people. I said, yeah, okay. Man, I canceled 3 times, and then
your subconscious knew.
Subconscious, right? Yeah. And then the 4th time, I came up to the front of the house, but they were in the back. And I heard people, but I still was like ringing the doorbell and no one was like coming. And I was about to be like, no one was coming, I'm leaving. And as I'm leaving, she catches me in the driveway. She's like, Christian, come here, we're in the back. I went, and then there was like this garage that was like made into a beautiful like area where we would do breath work. And there was mats and pillows and candles. And I was like, holy moly, this is really nice. I laid down, we were all in a circle, we were breathing. And it was the
the 2-part breath.
2-part breath, yeah.
Double inhale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Slow exhale. And I hear like this girl adjacent to me, like, because we're in a circle, so her head's over there. start crying. I was like, why is she crying? I was like, that's crazy. And then the girl next to her starts crying. Then the girl next to me, like directly next to me, starts yelling. I was like, oh shit, what is going on? And then we're doing this more and more. 10 minutes later, I feel tears coming down my eye. I go, what is happening? Why am I crying?
Yes.
And it's like, and then I just got this hot flash, all from like toes to my chest, to my neck, to my face. And then I started crying. And I was like, what is happening? But it's like the access, that's what you said. It's accessing the things that like you don't feel, or your subconscious is like kind of holding you back, your body's holding it back. All you need to do is lay down and breathe, man. And that comes up. And I was like, at that point, I've done a few psychedelics. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And thank God that I knew what was happening, you know?
Right.
But I'm sure that a lot of people can be scared. They're like, what just happened, you know?
Wow. I mean, your story is awesome.
Yeah.
Your story is awesome because I can't tell you, and I don't do it too often, I'll have people come to the studio and we'll breathe together, one-on-one. But I have them do cold therapy, then we'll go in the sauna, then we'll go back to cold, then sauna, then they'll shower. Then we'll lay on like a higher dose mat or like a healing mat, and then I'll have them do the breath. Because and it's usually the people that are, like you said, like resisting it the most. She barely caught you at the door. You almost didn't do it. I think we tend to, and I've seen this with clients, the one-on-ones, we tend to resist without knowing why resist the most beautiful healing capacity we have.
Isn't that weird? We do resist
it. And I don't think, I'm not here to shame the ego. I actually don't agree with Ryan Holiday. You know, the ego is the enemy. I actually think the ego is our protector.
I believe so too.
It's trying to protect us.
100%.
So for example, when a client comes and we go through, I do hot, cold massage, roll out the front panel. There's so much that goes into it before we do cathartic breathing, because the people that need it the most, they have to be most at home in their body first. Because somebody could do breath work with no prep, no release, no posture, and then they could go, didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
But it's because the very reason they need the breath work is because they're not comfortable with where they live. They're not comfortable in their body. So there's some kind of like existential tension or unprocessed trauma that is within them. And I know this, man, because I went through an incredibly challenging childhood, like lots of bullying, mom being manic bipolar, dad not being around. Like a lot of that stuff came up for me in the past 7 years. And breathwork was a huge component. Psychedelics as well. Yeah. But breath was a huge component. So for whatever reason, I think that myself and all of us, we tend to almost demonize the ego, or the ego can try to sabotage us. But the breath, if we can get there, the ego turns down. Yeah. And the ego turns down because there's a structure in the brain called the default mode network, and that's what really helps us on like a science level, a biological level, to access our truest self, who we actually are, without the ego being this like barking dog.
Barks loud sometimes.
And it barks super loud.
But I call it like a neurotic bomb protector, right? Like don't cross this street. Don't cross this street, because last time you crossed the street 25 years ago, this happened. Right. So now I got to be scared every time I cross the street. But it's like, it's survival. It's for our survival. We have to have something protecting us. Otherwise, we're just bumping into cars and getting hit by cars, you know?
I want to riff on something with you. You know what I've been feeling lately is I just did this 2-week vision quest. It was a Native American vision quest. Done in the Native American style. Not a traditional quest. I want to like honor them. It wasn't a traditional quest. It was done in that lineage, in that honor. And a lot of stuff that came up for me there was about fear. Like, what in my life actually makes me the most afraid? Is it rational fear or is it irrational fear? And I came up with something, and I'm curious how you feel about this. Fear, we've all known that it's like, forget everything and run. But I think it's different. I think that fear is for everyone's attention responsibly. For everyone's attention responsibly. Because the stuff that scares me the most is most likely what I'm either making up or isn't true. And so I did a lot of breath work in my campsite, in my quest site. And I would say the number one thing for me was just feeling comfortable in my skin. Yeah. Feeling comfortable in my skin when I meet new people. And I traced it all the way back to childhood. And that's the kind of deep work that all of us need to do. We get to do this because it's happening in a way that we might not be able to feel all the time, but it's there. Like it's things that we haven't felt are always running in the background. And I think most of them are actually irrational fears.
Yeah.
They're fears that we've made up ourselves. And it's not to shame us. It's just that, shit, this is the human condition. This is what we signed up for, you know? So I really feel strongly that breath can be this incredible cleaning agent. It's almost like breath as a brush. It comes in, it scrubs everything, and then before you know it, Dr. G's crying on the ground. He doesn't know why. And that's the other thing too. We don't always have to know why we're crying. We don't always have to figure out why something happened or why it occurred or what it means. Like we're such intellectual creatures. But the breath, it doesn't matter. Like we can just let ourselves cry and not even know why we're crying and just feel fucking awesome at the end of it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love the take on fear, man. It's what I found is when we bring awareness to the things that distract us from the things that we fear the most, we're really good at distracting ourselves. We're really good.
Yeah.
And I had to take an honest look at my life and go, what things are in my life that distract me? What people, habits, right? Places. And I had to look at the whole thing. And then I go, okay, if I cold turkey stop distracting myself, how's it going to feel? And I started thinking like intellectually how it would feel. And it was really nerve-wracking. I was like, oh my God, if I take this away. It's like sort of going into a Vipassana. If someone threw me into Vipassana tomorrow, I'd be like, what the hell? You know, and I'm just like, wait, I don't have my phone.
No joke.
I don't have no phone. I don't have people I can talk to. I have to be quiet for 10 days, silent. You know, I talk all day, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to look at what that would feel like. And then I removed those distractions. And man, like, I've never felt anxiety like this. Like, I've felt like nervousness, but I don't suffer with anxiety. I had my first anxiety attack ever during this month. It was last month, actually, during this month. And then I had my second anxiety attack, third, fourth, and fifth, 5 anxiety attacks 5 days in a row. But I haven't been the same person I was in the month of February. The month of March was incredible at doing this work because it just changed me. It's crazy. It's like my relationships are better. Right, my relationship with myself is better. There's the dial on my overall emotional contraction and like just overall heat is down. It's like at a 4. Used to be at like a 6. And it was just simply detoxing or knowing what I'm running away from. And now I can go back to doing those things, but feel different.
Yeah.
It's funny because like subconsciously, my body knows what I'm doing when I'm distracting myself. It's like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it comes up and I don't want to think about it consciously, so I push it back down. But I found that fear, that very thing, like I feared the anxiety of what I would have felt. And during those anxiety attacks, it was moving through my body. It was like exorcisms, really. I was in bed. I was 4 a.m. every morning. It was like exorcisms, but I would get like these fast, like Rolodex visions of like, remember this, remember this, remember this, how about this?
Yeah.
Oh, here's something that you don't do that you're afraid to show, what part of you're afraid to show. And I was like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it just stopped. And it's crazy. So I'm talking about fear. I love the conversation we had about fear, but that's my riff on it.
I love that because all the stuff that was in there, it finally came up.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, it's 4 a.m, let me feel this now.
Yeah, 4 a.m.
Were you doing any specific breath work during that time when you were going through the waves of the stuff?
No.
Or was it more like your body took over?
My body did its own breath work, which is one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. When we do breath work, we're pretty conscious because we're doing the 3 in, hold, 3 in, and then or we're consciously doing 2 and then 4 out. I was like, my body is changing the rhythm of its breathing in this 15-minute shaking exorcism session. And it was like breathing really fast and then stops. And I'm not holding my breath. My body's just like, I can breathe at any time if I override it. And then it starts breathing fast again and then breathing really slow. It felt like, this is what it felt like. It felt like someone had a wire attached to both my lungs and was like in another room and pressing my lungs in whatever voluntary way that they desired. So I wasn't in charge of my lungs in those moments. It was like someone is playing this other rhythm, but it was the most sublime thing because I'm laying and I go, my body knows exactly what it's fucking doing.
Yeah.
I thought I know. My body literally knows exactly the steps it needs to take to move this energy. And I felt it from my stomach, which is where it lived, to my sternum, to my throat, to my mouth as a yell. And it just kept coming out and coming out and coming out. Oh, here comes tears. And it was palpable. It was like shaking, moving. And it was all through breathing and movement. It was shaking my body and breathing, shaking my body and breathing. My body's like, I got this, let me do this. You tried to do it with all your sessions and all your, you pay for this, let me handle this. And I was like,
wow,
God bless.
So this was like a culmination for you, at least what I'm hearing, of all the different healing things you've done, all the different modalities. And then at some point, your body was like, I got this. Like, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so potent. That's so important because most people probably haven't had the bevy of tools that you've had. I mean, naturopathic doctor, like you're exposed to a lot of different healing spaces and healing people. So if somebody is feeling right now like there's tension in their belly, they can't breathe, or they just have this compression feeling in their body, the absolute best thing you can possibly do is start with your breathing. You don't have to go buy supplements. You don't have to go to a energy healer. You don't have to get Reiki. Like, that is the number one thing. And then also, I think we have to become undomesticated. We're really domesticated. Most of us, we live in cushy apartments. We have everything taken care of. We don't have hormesis. We don't walk around barefoot. We're not really exposed to hot, cold. We really need to return. It's cool you have like all this nature looking in your studio here, and that's this beautiful backdrop with like the green. I'm feeling into that because that is just as potent as anything else. Like, we have to do breath and we have to connect back to Earth, Mother Earth. And this is really present for me right now because a month ago I just got back from the Quest.
Yeah.
You know, here in Santa Barbara, right in California. And most people, we're so domesticated. We live in so much concrete jungles and cities that the natural innate systems that came alive for you at 4 a.m, because of all the different experiences you've had, probably helped those come alive for you.
Yeah.
But most people, they're not going to come alive because they're just quite simply disconnected from it. The innate intelligence that are inside of people's bodies when it comes to the breath or somatic experiencing, like, it's not online because it's been desensitized. We've really become, I don't want to say dishonoring, but we've really ignored the beast of who we are, the animal of who we are. So we have to put that back into the equation as well. That's why a lot of what we talk about in the program is like, hey, breathwork is a great start, but you need to pair breathwork with other things too. You know, there are some supplements that help. There are some nature practices that help, like hot and cold therapy, stuff like that. Because what you said is really powerful. If something's not innately coming online, it's because there's something missing from your life in order to activate that part of yourself. And so whether you're like a logical person or a spiritual person, we get it. We're disconnected from who we are. We're disconnected from the way that we're naturally supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a deep calling. We're in a renaissance, man. We're in a evolutionary, emotional consciousness renaissance that is pulling us back to basic stuff. It's like, people ask me what I do. I'm like, I hold conversations and I teach people how to breathe.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But we've lost the art form of like listening to each other, breathing, being out in nature by a stream. And there's always a choice. Like, we can always design our lives to have that, but the ego and the mind always tries to stack things in front of it and say, oh, I'm in New York, or, you know, I'm in Chicago.
All these things.
I can't do it, but it's a choice. Like, I take radical responsibility for my life, no matter what happens. Yeah. Because if something happens, it either was supposed to happen through the wisdom of God, or because my soul pulled it in.
Hell yeah, man.
So I take ownership for all that, you know?
Yeah.
So
and you're really empowered. You walk around life empowered, right? Because you're able to take ownership and go, okay, if I take ownership, even if something that's seemingly not my cause, right? I still can make that change, right? The moment we take ownership, like, I mean, I try to take care of the world, but I still take ownership over global warming, right? I still take ownership over us polluting the ocean, right? I do my part for the most part. I don't do much, you know, to you know, add to the destruction, but still, it's my fault. That's the way I take it. I'm like, all right, let me, because we're a collective, as a collective. So it's, I just love that you said that. That really triggered me in a good way.
Good trigger.
Tell us about the program. I want to know about your program.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks. I think that whether you're studying behavior change from BJ Fogg or anyone in, like, you know, the behavior world, some people say 66 days. I found personally that 3 weeks is a massive momentum for habit change and behavior change. So the program is built for everyday people. It's built for people that don't have experience in breath, that maybe are in middle America, or they're not into a lot of spiritual aspects or esoteric concepts. Like you and I know in this world that there's a lot of breathing programs. Breath is on everyone's mind. It's a big thing. It's trendy right now. So I made this from my own journey with anxiety, and I made this for everyday people. So in 3 weeks, you can learn about the acute style breath, the 7-minute breath work, the meditative breath work, the 20-minute sessions, using this binaural technology to get you into a state through your ears that you can actually access a deeper part of your nervous system. And then there is some cathartic training, but I will say, like, we're not doing deep catharsis breath in the program. If people want to do that, they can work with me. They can work with one of my colleagues. We can refer you. But this breath program is made for people that really just want to clear their stress.
Yeah.
They just want to have this anchor where no matter where they are in their car, with their spouse, before a meeting, whatever it is, like, we all feel that tension sometimes where there might be fear, this irrational fear. So what this program guarantees is, I promise you from my own life experience, when you're done with it, you will have a set of tools that no matter where you are, who you are, what you do, your level of awareness, you'll be able to clear that stress. That's the big piece. Because breath, like we talked about in the beginning of this show, man, it's the only lever we can pull. You and I can't digest our food faster. We can't make our heartbeat faster. You know, there's so many things that are happening autonomically. And breath is beautiful because it's the only lever that's voluntary and involuntary. And so it's a safe space for people.
Yeah.
It's a place for people that they can really learn in a 3-week period. How can you use these tools on an everyday basis so that you'll see real results? And I think that's what sets me apart from the deeper cathartic programs out there, where there's somebody with a crystal wearing a white cape, which those are my homies too. I like them too. You know, I'm like that. But I wanted to do something because I really felt like, gosh, if I had this when I was younger, you know, if I had this knowledge, if I had this embodiment of breath, I think my life would have been a lot easier. And I think especially with what's going on in the world right now, we need breath now more than ever. Which is why I think you and I are excited about seeing so many programs and so much information coming up about breath, because we can't always find our deepest healing with psychedelics. And I think the breath can give us that access point. So it's breathwork.io. And I talked to your crew, and HEAL is the code, heal thyself.
Awesome.
So 25% off the program, heal thyself.
Perfect. We got the code. So it's breathwork.io. And we covered a lot of ground, man. And I'm really appreciative for the work you do in the world. I've been seeing you and a lot of my friends in the podcast world. So it was beautiful to come out here to LA and really just touch the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to breath. Yeah, man. And thank you for coming on. I appreciate that. A new dad out there, congratulations. You got a 9-month-old, and I know you're going to be teaching you. Exactly. You're going to teach your kid to do that breath work. You know,
it's funny. I've been reading him a book. It's called Belly Breathe.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's funny, breaking generational trauma, giving our kid purpose, giving our kid that tool that can change their life. So I love that. I'm inspired. And thank you for coming on the show. Come back again very soon. Let's talk more about, I mean, you said tip by iceberg. I want to know the glacier under there. We want to know all about the breath. So as always, man, thank you.
Thank you.